talking about mediation with a very good friend of the show. Virtually, today I have the pleasure of hosting Reverend Geoffrey Njenga on the show this morning, a presenter of the popular Sunday morning show Hope for Tomorrow. No wonder he's an expert on resolving disputes with his calm, collected manner. Can we, the parties, say we're not comfortable with this mediator? Because I remember like the 2007 post-election violence, and the different conflicting parties said this one is already biased, this one no.
Yes, of course. I mean, it is the right of the people in dispute to choose a mediator, and you must choose the one that you are comfortable with.
Yes.
I mean, if you don't want me as a mediator, there's nothing I can do about it. I just let you be. But I can, recommend someone else who perhaps can take your matter. I may also choose not to take your matter because, I may simply feel I do not want to get involved in this. This is not something I feel comfortable doing. And there are cases like those. But by and large, a well-trained mediator can take the people through the process to conclusion, a successful conclusion.
This calm voice.
Why?
If I showed up on a mediation table and you spoke, it would bring me down very quickly.
Well, I would try. I don't always succeed, but I would try, because without calming the people who are in a dispute, you are unlikely to achieve anything. And one way of doing that is just letting people talk.
Right.
It is called venting. Venting is allowed in mediation, that you can cry if you choose to. I always have tissues very near that you can scream a little. I have to keep control, but venting is important. Just being able to pour out your pain and frustration and anger ultimately calms the person. And in fact, I have done matters where somebody simply got peace. The matter was resolved in their heart simply because they had a chance to express themselves.
What kinds of disputes are more appropriate for mediation?
Any and every dispute can be mediated if the parties are willing, because basically all you need to do is come to the table. But that will have to contend with our mindset. We've been made to believe for the longest time that we can only resolve matters in conflict. If you and I disagree on anything, you say, my lawyers will write you.
Yes.
Or we meet in court. What they don't tell you is that meeting in court or going to court is a disaster that you created for yourself. Because one, the matter will not be resolved. The dispute may be determined, and that can take forever, but the matter will not be resolved. So all those things you talked about, that this is lengthy, this is expensive, this creates permanent enemies, will happen. So people need to focus on mediation, because in mediation you have very distinct advantages. One is that the process is voluntary. You choose to come to the table to talk about it, and then it is short. I have told you, I have a matter where people are in court for 17 years, and we resolve it within 3 meetings.
Right.
Within less than a month, it is resolved. And then it's less expensive. Of course, you're going to pay me as a mediator. And especially you, Julia, I would demand that you pay me. But anyway, that's a joke. You will pay a mediator. But it is not as much as you will pay a lawyer. And it is not even in terms of money. The emotional pain you go through when you go through a legal process, and the length of time that you will stay in that process, it takes you through a very tough time. So what matters are more amenable to mediation? Family matters. I have a very soft spot in my heart for family business, because family business in this country, and perhaps the world over, is going through a very difficult time, because those siblings and relatives, for some reason, never seem to get it right in terms of living together. So family business, especially for families which we can say are rich, they almost always inevitably end up in court. And the inevitable reality is that they destroy the estate by going to court. Mediation is the way to go for family business, because there you have a chance of repairing relationships. And without relationships, it will not work. So family disputes, whether it is marital, whether it is marriage, whether it is difficulties with children, whether it is the family business, ought to go to mediation. Because the other thing is that mediation is confidential. So you're not going to, wash your dirty linen in public? It is confidential. Banks need to adopt mediation more than anybody else. They never want to say that they have trouble with their customers, and I know they have lots of trouble. They need to go to mediation, because then those disputes can be resolved between them and their customer, whether it's defaulting or it is stealing, whatever it is that may have happened. They can resolve the disputes. Commercial matters need to go there as well. So any and every, including what can I say, corporations and county governments. Corporations and county government. I have done a matter between one corporation, which I will not name right now, and a county government, which was very successful. The problem between them was massive and heavy, but we were able to resolve it and save the corporation 253 billion shillings.
We know that the legal process has a means of enforcement through the state agencies,
Yes.
but are settlements handled through mediation binding on the parties involved, and how do they commit themselves to the agreement?
The main thing is what you say, it's voluntary. If you and your husband choose to resolve your matter, it is a choice you have made. And if within that process your interests are met and his interests are met, do you need anybody else? And you shake hands and say, this works for us. Do you really need anybody to enforce that? Of course not. Because it's a choice you have decided. However, I hear what you're saying. Right now, as we talk, we have the Mediation Bill 2020. And it will come up with enforcement mechanisms when it is enacted into law. I believe that will be enacted very soon, so that there is an enforcement mechanism, because somebody says Kenyans are peculiar.
Yes.
Today you agree, tomorrow you have never seen me.
And have you dealt with such a case, Rev, where they reach an agreement, and after some time the parties go back on their commitment? What do you do? Do you bring them back to the mediation table?
Well, you can, but that's the travail. That's the problem of being a Kenyan.
Yeah.
Because we do not, we are peculiar. We believe we say one thing today and tomorrow we change our mind. But you can also go through the legal process, which we don't have time to open up right now, and put that agreement to be to come out as a court order through the legal process. And more so if it is a court-mandated mediation. When I resolve a matter that was in court and we have an agreement, the mediator files that agreement in court, and the judge gives that as the court order, and there's no appeal. And I have done that every day. In fact, I have a matter today at 3 o'clock that I'm dealing with on that basis from the judiciary.
Can a matter have more than one mediator? Like,
Yes.
have you mediated with someone else?
Yes, you can. You can have duo, you can have a number of mediators. The thing is for them to understand how they're going to help the disputants. The fact that you're two does not mean one is from one side, the other one is from the other side. Because a mediator remains neutral. So yes, you can sit, two of you. I have done that in a business, in a family business matter. I have sat with someone else as a mediator. In fact, we were three mediators. But the idea is still to help the people to come together. So you need to agree how you manage the process, but you don't take sides. A mediator never, ever takes sides.
I want to take you back to the story you talked about just before we went for break, about the woman
Yes.
who was sitting somewhere in a corner and you asked her to speak.
Yes.
18 years, you said?
It may have been. I think that was about 15.
15.
Yeah.
How do we get there that for 15 years I have not said what is in my heart?
Because, Julia, we assume that we are talking and we are communicating in our homes. Now listen to me. The fact that you have opened your mouth and a sound came out does not mean you have communicated to the other party. Don't laugh. It's a very serious matter. I have a couple who have been married for 27 years, and they said in my office this week, at least we have spoken. We have talked. What were they doing for 27 years? They they were opening mouth, and they believed that we're communicating.
Yeah.
So the thing is to know that there is a big difference between talking and communicating, and we need to be careful, whether it's a business partner, whether it is in our homes, even with our children and with our spouses. We need to be careful that we are communicating, and people have a chance to speak, because people will not say it if obviously they don't have a chance to speak. And in our homes, particularly for wives and women generally, they keep things because, you know, the man is going to explode, or the man is going to, they are threatening to kill someone, so you keep quiet. Now, the other guy may think, or the guy may think, you have nothing to say simply because you didn't open, or you didn't say anything, or there was shouting that happened. He may think he has communicated. Not at all.
The Chief Justice said 7.2 billion shillings that had been held up in litigation of family and civil disputes has been released through mediation. That is a huge cost, and reveals the exorbitant cost of disputes.
That underlines the beauty of mediation and the effectiveness of mediation. 7.2 billion shillings stuck there, and would be stuck for many years, because those court cases go on forever.
Yes.
Mediation is the silver bullet that we are looking for to solve the conflict in this country. Because people talk, and when people talk, they discover they have more that puts them together than what separates them, and they are able, through the process of give and take, open up the estate, open up that marriage dispute, and release each other, or release the resources. So yes, indeed. And I believe the Chief Justice, the Honorable Chief Justice, supports mediation with all his heart.
And you know, the same report by the CJ said mediation process is available in 12 counties. But why should mediation be limited by geography?
No, it is not limited by geography. I think what that statement meant is that the counties can solve their disputes through mediation. You know, it's a dicey thing for a county government to sue the other. Because where do you go? I mean, you all belong. It's like siblings suing each other. It's a very untidy situation. And I think it's provided for by the law. It has not been exploited very well. But it is so important that counties learn to resolve their disputes. Let me also say this. In this country, we have very long-running disputes. Whether you're talking about the Rift Valley, or whether you're talking about Mount Elgon, or whether you're talking, especially near, when we come near elections, you'll see all manner of disputes come up. We pretend that those disputes can be resolved through force. They will not. But mediation is the way. Because the mediator will go to the bottom of the problem. And let me tell you, the people in Mount Elgon know exactly what the problem is. The people in Marakwet and Pokot, they know precisely what the problem is. They are looking, or they need a mediator to come between them, and they talk and find lasting solutions, and that can happen. So I will encourage our government, the county government, also the national government, to think mediation, because it is the only way that you can have sustainable peace, even at the national level, at the political level. We don't need all these disputes. What people want is to understand what their interests are, and those interests are taken care of.
What's the future of mediation in resolving conflict? Will this be used side by side with the legal process?
Big. By the way, there's no conflict between mediation and litigation or the legal process. In fact, some of the greatest supporters of mediation, and I'm a little sad that the lawyer I wanted to come with didn't make it. Some of the biggest supporters of mediation are the lawyers, because they've discovered, really, your job as a lawyer is not to make money. Your job as a lawyer is not to enrich yourself. Your job really is to resolve the conflict. And you can do the same thing going through mediation. So legal firms are beginning to have the department called mediation.
Thank Thank you very much, Rev. That's Reverend Geoffrey Njenga has been my guest on the show this morning talking about mediation. Reverend Njenga is the presenter of the popular Sunday morning show Hope for Tomorrow. Make sure you catch it right after the 6 a.m. news. That's from 6:15 to 7 this Sunday. No wonder he's an expert on resolving disputes with this calm, collected manner. Thank you so much for being on the show, Rev.
It was my pleasure.